small crowd tonight, but, and I gave it to everybody. Did I give you one, Carol? This is Todd's pile, I'm assuming, right?
I don't know. What are you talking
Well, you got it. So tonight I want to formally, state that we have, or will be public noticing for the, to review the ethics law that has been proposed. So at the next town board meeting 2 weeks from tonight, we're going to have a public session or a public notice for the public to comment on the new proposed ethics law. I think it's pretty comprehensive. I want to say, publicly thank you to Bill Little. He did a great job. I know Norm and Mary Sue helped out a lot, and then of course Peter's reviewed it. I've given the town staff time to look at it. I think it's overdue. The previous one's from 1970. 40 years ago, so I have extra ones I can give to the crowd here, or to the audience, if you guys want to review it. I've asked Tim Bishop to put it up on the website. It's going up as a draft version, but again, public comment will be 2 weeks from tonight, and again, I hope in 2 weeks we'll be able to formally adopt it, and then that'll be one step forward. So again, if anybody in the audience has got it or needs a copy of it, I have extras here. Another thing I wanted to touch base on tonight, Bob, I know you've been championing 2 items, Parker's Corner, so I hope maybe you can give a review of or status on Parker's Corners. We'll start there, and then ask you to take a look at the new dog ordinance. I'd like to push that through soon too, if it's ready to go.
Okay. Well, last week we had the letter written from one of the residents. Actually, Mary Sue's husband read it, and it was from the committee. So we heard the letter read last night, and what they're requesting is that we as a town board would make a resolution to support their letter. They want to get, signatures and so forth for some of these changes that they're asking. And they would like to have a resolution from the board that we will support their letter and petition that they're going to send in to the county, the state, the different ones. And so I would like to see if we could put, for our next meeting, a resolution, or put down for a resolution that we will accept and stand behind them as far as what they're requesting for the speed limit. And eventually we'd like to see the Parker's Corner Road change, and that's going to be some time. But I did find out that that corner piece there, it's right in the Y between Giffords Church and Parker's Corner, is state property, so we may have to deal more directly with the state versus the county, but maybe we can get them both to work together and see what we can do. So that's where we're at on, with that committee. And Carol did mention to me, and I did talk to Mary Sue about meeting minutes for our, so they're supposed to be getting those.
Okay, thank you.
So that's where we're at on that. And
Go ahead and draft the resolution, or mail it to me, or write it up, and I'll type it up and I'll put it on next.
Right. I don't think they're quite ready to mail it in, but they want to, know that we're behind them, and we'll give them a cover letter for sending it into those percentages.
I'd like to, keep pushing on the county on this, because we're in the construction season. So although I'm sure they have their budget laid out, if there's anything at the open, I'd like to get that. I'd really like to push on Parker's Corner before winter.
Exactly.
Yep. So when you draft the resolution, I'll cut and paste it into next meeting.
Okay. Do you want me to go right into the dog issue?
You got the floor, my friend.
Okay, and I believe last month's meeting we addressed or we brought up about the new dog ordinance and laws, and Darla had worked on making a few changes, and I guess last year when it came up, I guess we discussed some of it, but we never really passed it, so I guess we need to make a resolution to accept the new dog law. But there was just a couple of things that I think that we were a little comfortable about, and that was some of the charges, if I remember correctly. You know, and so I just didn't know if that was something that we were still comfortable with. You know, like the first offense was $75, additional offenses were $150. I remember we had discussion on that, but you know, we never went really anywhere with it. So I just wanted to bring that out. And then some of the penalties, you know, it was like a $250 fine or imprisonment for a period not exceeding 15 days or both. And, you know, for previous, consistent offenses and so forth. So I don't know if we want to leave it that way. I mean, I'm fine with the rest of it. The rest of it is pretty much self-explanatory, and you know.
So what's your thoughts on the fines?
Well, I think I was okay with it. I just there were some that were a little uncomfortable with, you know, if somebody has like a second offense, to be charged them $150, and then after that, you know, do we want to go higher, or do we want to just keep it? You know, once it hits the 150 mark, we want to keep it there at 150.
Well, 150 would be max, right? I mean, it doesn't
Well,
necessarily have to.
that's what I'm asking. Do we want to keep it at 150 for repeated offenses, or, you know?
I'm fine with it, actually.
I mean, I'm fine with it the way it is. I just know that when we discussed it, that some of the fees and the penalties were some that was of concern. So
maybe the only one per, you know, we'll put in there just $150 max. But, you know, instead of, they'll leave the door open that, you know, it doesn't have to be 150, but after 4 or 5 times, you know, it's going to be what it is.
right.
And I know Darla had spent some time about putting a note in there about, we had an incident where a dog got picked up
Yeah.
and was abandoned, and now the town's absorbing the cost. So there's a provision in there to address that even if you abandon your dog, you still owe the town.
All right, well then, I'll just make that change, you know, that it will max at 150 for offense. If that's all right, and then I think as far as I'm concerned, I'm in favor as far as adopting it. I don't remember, Carol, when we discussed it, it was kind of just carried on.
No, it was, the fee was the only
The
thing
fee
that was
was
talked
the-
about, and some people thought it was a good fee because there are issues and people would be deterred from doing it at a
Right.
higher fee. Other people thought it was too over the top,
Yeah.
and so it just kind of ran its course and no one really pushed to
Yeah,
change
so it
it.
kind of got along the sideline, and so that's why we're just readdressing it again to try to get it finalized. And
We never really had issues with people within town paying if they abandon their dog. It's people outside of
Right.
town, and we have no jurisdiction over those.
right.
So if you want to make that, you know, one
Make that
typo,
change.
not typo change, one change, you know, send it to me, I can make the change. If that's the case, we'll put it out for review, and I'm assuming this will be public approval, so it'll probably won't go to the July meeting, but this will be, you know, more than 6 weeks out, so there should be plenty of time for it to be a formal approval. All right, thank you. Anything for Bob, Cal? The next piece I'd like to talk about is our planner, Gino. Gino's working on an update to our law for, if you want to walk through it real quick.
Yeah, basically we don't have anything in place for the zone change. If someone wants to request a change in zoning, we really don't have an application or actual process that we have to go through. So we're kind of stealing Rotterdam, I wouldn't say stealing, we're borrowing Rotterdam's law and recreating it to make it our own. And you know, making changes to make it fit Princetown's. And for the next planning board meeting, we plan on getting the planning board's comments and any other additional changes that they want to make to it before we actually present it to this board. So I think you guys will have a polished version of what we come up with, hopefully after the next planning board meeting, and maybe actually in time for next month, next month's town board meeting.
Now, who would initiate the change to the zoning bylaw?
Well, it would originally, it gets initiated by the applicant, whoever actually owns the parcel that wants to change would actually ask this board, and an application will be filled out, this board will hear it, and then forward it on to the planning board. The planning board will then review it and basically vote on it, or at least that's the way it's written right now, we can make changes on it, but have the planning board review it and maybe give comments back to you guys, but ultimately this board will make the decision. This board will basically decide whether or not the change will occur or not. There's obviously public hearings involved, and there's a legal process that it has to go through, the secret process, to make sure that there's no environmental effects and what effects are going to be created by it, and ultimately, in most cases, if it involves a certain amount of land, there's an environmental impact statement which can be required if the board feels that it's necessary. But there's a lot involved, but you'll be able to read through it when we create it and give it to you guys, and you guys will be able to ultimately polish it off even more than what we have.
So you think the draft will be ready in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that the draft will be ready by the end of this week, so I can forward it on to the planning board members. The planning board members will then be able to give me comments, if they have any more comments, to give me at the next planning board meeting, which is the 31st. So after that meeting, I'll be able to give you a rough draft of what we came up with.
Rough draft or final draft?
Rough draft. I won't call it a final, because you guys are also going to have to review it and go through it and make any changes or comments that you want to make to it.
So Bob Paul's issue
Yes,
right
and
now,
that's-
this would,
It's an excellent example of what, Bob Paul had petitioned the town board, but really there's no application and there's no set procedure that we really have in black and white in our laws right now that we're lacking. So we want something in place. But yes, that's an excellent example.
All right, thanks, Gino. So I encourage Dan, Pat, Vic, and other members, I encourage, at least myself, I encourage you, if you see a law or something and you feel, pretty strongly that it's time for an update, please go for it and take the initiative and update. And, bring a draft into us, we'll take it, we'll update accordingly. I think we've all understood that some of these laws are pretty old and could use some polishing, so appreciate the initiative.
Well, I won't take all the, Pat actually initiated it, so I'm not going to take the credit.
very generous of you.
He knows because I'm sitting here.
Yeah, I have to, she's right there.
So then you owe us one then, right?
No good turn goes unpunished.
One other piece I handed to everybody. This is kind of rough, but I wanted to start putting this up on the website. So I know there's a lot of stuff going on in town. There's this daily activities, we'll call it. I've socialized it with the board tonight, and I'll socialize it, but I'm kind of thinking, and I want to ask the board, it's an action register, so we use it in work. Tim Bishop uses it all the time. He actually started this. I've expanded on it. But what it is to me is a list of things that need to be done in town. Obviously there's some have a higher priority than others. Some are going to take a little longer to get started. Some, and I'll try to update it, have been started. But my thought is, and our thought, is that we can put this up on the website, we can start tracking it. So what is everybody doing, who's doing it, when they do. Again, I think there's just a lot of work to be done. I'm open for people to add items to it. Again, this is some of the stuff I've been scribbling on my notebook for, since January 1st. And I think it's a good way to, if we put it up on the website, we can keep updating it and start tracking activities. Like, one of them, for example, is the water purveyor law. Like within a month, I'd like to open that up for discussion and moving forward with it. Office policies and procedures, I want to form a committee. Maybe I can get it on next month's agenda. Update the town email addresses, and again, that's kind of going back to the records advisory board. Combine some positions. So if you guys, again, these are just kind of things that I've been scratching down over the while here, items I think need to be updated or approached and again, updated or just polished. So I wanted to put that on for discussion with the board here. I mean, if you guys are okay, I'll ask Tim to create a link on the website to put an action register up there again to kind of track ongoing issues or items, right?
Yeah.
Stuff everybody's working on.
Well, I think, if I may,
Yeah, absolutely.
Something like this is a tool that we all need to just kind of keep track of ourselves. When we come to work in the morning, we say, oh, geez, what we got to do today? And I think if it's on the web, like you said, then the citizens in the town can look and say, well, ask questions, keep us honest, and And I think this is an excellent way to just track and guide us as we go forward. And like I say, if we add things.
And I mean, the citizens can, go, Mike, did you know about this? Can you put this on the things to do list? And, if we actually track it and we get, some participation from the board and from the citizens, we can, again, try to follow it as far as what date did it start, who's working on it, what's the progress, what, is our projected end date, when do we expect it to complete it.
The only thing, we got a good spelling. How to say it?
Gee, thanks.
Well, if the town, they're gonna